It was a sunny, breezy day. Today's Konoha village welcomes a long-lost guest. A man with long white hair, wearing a red jacket and clogs, staggered into the village. That's right, this old man who looks like an ISP is the legendary Toad Sage, one of the Konoha Sannin, Jiraiya. Standing on the wooden Fanwa Street, Jiraiya put his hand on his brow, 10 faces wide looking at the street. Tisk tisk, the weather is good today, and there are many beauties in cool clothes. Look at the long legs, and that plump young lady. He, as expected of Konoha village, the beauty quality is the best in the world. Jiraiya, are back. Jiraiya raised her head lewdly and shouted. However, when he lowered his head, he found that the eyes looking at him from the street were full of disdain. Jiraiya is also one of Sannin, how to say. In the eyes of ordinary people in Konoha, he is a hero. At this time, Jiraiya's sloppy look is no match for the hero in the eyes of these people. Hey, Jiraiya is back. My good fellow, you have such a frightening expression as soon as you come back. Honey, go home and change your skirt. Mom, that white-haired uncle looks so scary, with a bad expression on his face. Oh, don't look. It will teach children bad. A group of villagers. Not only was there no welcome in the lane as imagined. Instead, all the 427s left the scene as if they were hiding from the plague god. This operation, it seems that Jiraiya's cry just now seems to be tarnishing the name Jiraiya. TCH, it's really as old-fashioned as usual. Jiraiya curled her lips in boredom, then ignored those gazes, and focused on those lovely and beautiful ladies in the distance. Hey, miss, would you like to have a drink with me? Uncle's treat, let's go have a drink. Hey, crack. Miss, please speak up if you have something to say. Why are you hitting someone? Oh, it hurts. Don't kick there. Not surprisingly, all offers were turned down. Jiraiya is not lost either. After all, he is used to it. The only ones who yelled at the girls and went to drink with them were the drink holders in the bar. After being rejected, Jiraiya had no choice but to walk around the street leisurely. At this time, he glanced at a bookstall not far away. Huh? Bookstore? Hey, let's see if my new book is up or not. Jiraiya became a little more serious, walked to the booth of the bookstore, took a closer look, and found that the one on the top was her latest work, the Pro X Paradise series. Let me see. He immediately took a copy and looked it over. Although he wrote the book, every time a new book is released, Jiraiya will find a book to review. After all, classic things need to be recited repeatedly in order to taste the taste. At this time, Jiraiya is slowly reminiscing about it. Every time I see a wonderful plot, the efforts made for this wonderful scene will appear in my mind. Thinking of the tragic experience of being kicked out of the women's bathhouse, he felt the vicissitudes of life he had experienced. And just when Jiraiya saw the excitement, suddenly, a loud roar next to him ruined Jiraiya's aftertaste. Naruto. This is not a book you can read, put it down. Jiraiya frowned dissatisfiedly and looked over, only to find that the owner of the bookstall was yelling at a boy. The boy looked to be only 5 or 6 years old. Blonde. Azure pupils. Huh? Do I have such young readers? Wait, isn't that Jiraiya recognized it immediately? Isn't that my beloved disciple, Minato's son? Surprised, Jiraiya is actually a little complacent. I didn't expect my book to have such a wide audience, even Minato's son was attracted. It wasn't just Jiraiya who was surprised. In the distance, in a dark and deserted corner, a strange creature in the shape of a pitcher plant also emerged quietly from the shadows on the ground. The pitcher plant opened, and there were black Zetsu and white Zetsu inside. Blonde hair. White Zetsu said dully, isn't that guy our target this time? I remember he should be the son of the 4th generation, the 9 tails Jinchuriki of this generation, right? But what's going on? What he's holding in his hand, if I remember correctly, should be an adult book. Isn't he 6 years old? Has he started reading these books? Forehead. Black Zetsu frowned and didn't speak. Black Zetsu himself is not the talkative one. In other words, what he pretended to be was a man of few words. When communicating, most of them will come from Bai to talk. This is really a crazy meeting. I don't know what this Jiraiya guy thinks. In front of the bookstore, Jiraiya's mind is still flashing those scenes when the fourth-generation couple were alive. But before he could continue, Naruto's words pulled him into the cold reality. I saw Naruto frowning, looking at the book in his hand with a look of disgust. Well, this book is so-so, and it's not that exciting to read. Hear this. Jiraiya's thoughts cleared immediately. Then he looked at Naruto in shock. Naruto, what do you know, brat? This is the best-selling book right now. This is not a wonderful read for a brat like you. You're still a long way from reading these books. Hearing Naruto look down on making out heaven so much, the bookstall owner yelled at Naruto directly. Jiraiya really wanted to hear why Naruto said that, leaned over and asked curiously. What's wrong with this book? It's interesting to me. Naruto glanced at him, then set his eyes on the book and said. The description is too thin. The description of the clothes of the female characters is not specific enough, and it is very unfriendly to people with less imagination. And there are too few battle locations, making it very monotonous. The plot is even less eye-catching. It's all the kind of plot that goes along with the flow, and there is no coercion. You must know that in this world, bullheads are the loudest. Pure love? Basically, there is no plot. Hearing Naruto say that, Jiraiya was struck by lightning, standing there stupidly. What's the situation? Isn't this very understandable? Why is Naruto so mature? And it sounds like a person on the road. Torin, pure love. Without 3 or 5 years of reading experience, you will never be able to say this kind of professional term. Jiraiya was not angry anymore. Looking at Naruto's eyes, it seems to be looking at someone in my way. With a smirk, he grabbed Naruto's shoulder. Little brother, you know a lot. It seems that he is also an expert. Naruto frowned slightly, as if expressing Jiraiya's familiar dissatisfaction. But of course he didn't think so. Jiraiya, he had already recognized. He also knew that the other party was pretending to be a passerby. But it's hard to meet Jiraiya. If you don't give him a role, how can you be worthy of your title of King of Roles? And Jiraiya is no one else. He had a great relationship with himself. In addition, Jiraiya has a lot of baby ninjutsu. No matter what you say, you have to get some benefits from him. Spreading his hands, Naruto showed a disdainful expression. Of course, if I were to write it, it would definitely be 100 times better than this book. Hear Naruto say that. Jiraiya's mouth opened wide into an O shape, and it took 3 seconds before she came back to her senses. What? You also write this kind of novel? Naruto shrugged. Yeah, isn't that the kind of novel? What's the problem? Jiraiya came interested. Didn't expect the son of the 4th generation to have such a talent? Are you fooling yourself? Or do you have real talents? Jiraiya wanted to see it. Okay, brat. If you can really write, then write it out and let me see. If your writing is really better than this book, uncle, I'll give you some rewards. Hooked. Naruto remained calm, but he was already laughing out loud in his heart. And what he said was the truth. The content of Pro X Paradise is really not good. If he writes those he read in his last life, it's easy as pie to surpass heaven. Naruto asked, pretending to be curious. Uncle, what can you give me? Jiraiya pondered for a while, and then gave a price that he thought was very suitable. Well, how about giving you money? Is 20,000 taels enough? Naruto pouted immediately, and said disdainfully. I don't need money. My meatball shop earns more than 20,000 taels a day. Jiraiya was dumbfounded. Maru shop? Did he hear correctly? Naruto, a little boy, actually runs a meatball shop that earns more than 20,000 taels a day? How has he never heard of it? Had he been away from the village for too long? Naruto looked Jiraiya up and down, and said, Uncle, are you Jiraiya, one of the Sannin? Jiraiya's eyes lit up, and she straightened her back immediately. Ha ha ha. I didn't expect to be recognized by you, so there is nothing I can do. Then he jumped back a few steps, then put on a very strange pose and introduced himself in a strange tone. That's right. I am Jiraiya, who is also known as Toad Sage. You can just call me Master Jiraiya, brat. Jiraiya is extraordinary, looking forward to Naruto's performance of worship. But it's a pity. All he got was Naruto's disdainful look. What's going on? How can you look at me like that? Jiraiya didn't know why, and felt a little angry. He is Jiraiya, one of the dignified Sannin. When did you experience such grievances? Naruto took 2 steps back, and said, but I hear you've always been the one at the end of Sannin's crane. What? 4.7. Jiraiya was outraged. Which bastard dares to say that about the great Toad Sage? Quick, tell me his name. He stared at Naruto viciously, just wanting to teach the guy who dared to speak out a lesson.
Naruto said lightly, it's Grandpa 3rd generation.
Jiraiya froze instantly. He should have thought of it earlier. Currently in the village, the only person who is qualified to call him the tail of the crane is the 3rd Hokage, who was Sannin's mentor to Jonin. This bad old man. Jiraiya grunted, but didn't dare to say it too loudly. 3rd generation's reputation in the village is still very good after so many years of operation. Naruto continued. However, since the uncle is one of the Sannin, even the tail of the crane should be very strong, right? Jiraiya pinched her waist and said angrily, of course, Sannin's name was earned by the 3 of us with our hard work. I think back then. Jiraiya raised her head slightly, lost in memory. The corners of his mouth were raised, as if he was nostalgic for the past. At that time, they were the closest teammates. Only now. Time flies and things are impermanent. Naruto nodded knowingly and said, since this is the case, if you are willing to teach me ninjutsu, I will write it for you. Ninjutsu. Jiraiya dragged her chin in difficulty. No matter how you look at it, Naruto looks like he is only 5 or 6 years old. Children at this age are just at the stage of mastering the basics, perhaps they haven't even learned the 3-body technique. Teach him ninjutsu, can he learn it? But after struggling for a few seconds, Jiraiya agreed. Let's see what this kid writes first. If this kid writes well, just teach him some basic ninjutsu. If the writing is not good, forget it, and I will teach him later when he grows up. Think here. A big smile appeared on Jiraiya's face. In my heart, I boast that I am a peerless talent. No problem, I promise you, if your writing is really better than this book, then I will teach you ninjutsu. Naruto smiled slightly. That's what you said. Toad Sage, one of the dignified Sannin, will definitely not back down. Jiraiya laughed heartily. I will stay in the village for a while, it depends on whether you can seize this opportunity. If you can't find where I am, then go to the old man of 3rd generation, he will know where I am. Naruto shook his head and said, no, I know where to find you. Where? Women's bathhouse. I have to say, Naruto really hit the nail on the head, directly hitting Jiraiya's heart. It seems that my reputation in Konoha village is not very good. Shaking his head, Jiraiya sighed helplessly, then silently walked towards the women's bathhouse. And Naruto, wasting no time, rushed home at 29. Apart from a few working shadow clones, there is no one else in the house. But just as Naruto sat down, before he took out the paper and pen, the mocking voice of 9 Tails suddenly appeared in his heart. I didn't expect that the dignified 4th Hokage's son would actually do something like write about little Wangshu. If your parents knew, they would crawl out of their graves in shame and beat you up. Hear 9 Tails taunt? Naruto just snorted coldly. Idiot. That's art, understand? I asked you to read more books, you insisted on messing around, that's why you don't understand now, right? 9 Tails pouted in disdain, no answer. But Naruto didn't look ashamed in the slightest. On the one hand, the reason why Jiraiya was involved is because he just met, and he didn't roll his mouth or roll his mouth. The second is because Naruto you do want to get some ninjutsu from Jiraiya. The ninjutsu he mastered now is too low level. It's shuriken and body flicker technique. Occasionally, when the character explodes, the system will give a good-looking one. Wouldn't it be very profitable if I could learn advanced ninjutsu, such as Rasengan, from Jiraiya? And Jiraiya also has the crucial sage transformation here. If you can also learn from him, then you have to take off? While taking out the paper and pen, I was typing a draft. Naruto said calmly, Nine Tails, you are not human, so you don't understand. As a normal person, when you reach a certain age, you will be particularly interested in some things. Even if the spirit doesn't want to, the body is honest. There are no movies in this world, and it's a long time before I may grown up and can really hang out with girls. What should I do if I have some needs at this time and need to be released? Nine Tails is confused. How to do? No, brother, do you know how old you are now? Which 5 or 6-year-old kid is thinking about these things? Although I felt that Naruto was a bit too precocious, Juwei still muttered, then you can read Jiraiya's novel when the time comes, won't it be over? Naruto shook his head and continued with some helplessness. That's what I thought at first, too. I originally planned to read the masterpiece of the famous Sannin Jiraiya, but I read tens of thousands of words today, which made me not interested at all. It's not that my taste is too high, it's that Jiraiya really doesn't write well. A story of that level simply has no way to interest me. So, I can only reluctantly write my own songs. Hearing Naruto's explanation, Nine Tails was completely confused. What the hell? At first, I thought that Naruto wanted to play tricks on Jiraiya, so he made a bet with him. Did not expect. Writing this thing is actually for you to see for yourself? Would you like to hear what you're saying? Nine Tails was completely taken aback. You say that the chef's cooking is not delicious, and you are self-conscious and fry it yourself, which is unacceptable. What the hell? Uncle Huang's author Shui's writing is not good, so why don't you write it yourself? This is too exaggerated. Nine Tails in the cage shook his head, saying that he couldn't understand. Humans, no, Naruto's brain circuits are completely beyond his comprehension. Now he can only wait silently to see what tricks Naruto can write. As for Naruto, he ignored the silent Nine Tails. He took out the pen and paper and began to write with all his heart and soul. As for the protagonist and the story of this book, he has too many options, but, since we are going to PK with Jiraiya, it is better to be more stable and use classic routines and character design. Just write teacher bye. Naruto, you bastard, I don't know what's wrong with the writing. Early the next morning, Jiraiya came out of the hotel, planning to go to the women's bath to gather folk songs and find inspiration. But at this moment, Mr. Jiraiya, good morning. We met Naruto on the way. Well, Naruto, aren't you writing a book at home? Jiraiya asked puzzled. Naruto looked sincere, and then took out a book from behind. I've finished writing it. What, finished writing? Jiraiya seemed to have been hit with a stick. Head buzzing. Did you finish writing in one night? This is a novel, not a composition. And just when Jiraiya was surprised, Naruto handed him the manuscript in his hand. Looking at the capitalized book title on the first page of the manuscript, Jiraiya was full of doubts. A girl with a white knot? What the hell is this? With a trace of curiosity, he quickly opened the manuscript and flipped through it. Dude, it's really over, it's all handwritten. And look at the thickness of the paper, no less than 200,000 words. You brat, how did you do it? Did you use shadow clone? Jiraiya could only think so, but even shadow clone is shocking enough. Writing a book is all about inspiration, and to write a good book requires repeated revisions and pondering. Written with shadow clone, I don't know how the quality will be. Have a try mentality. Jiraiya started reading Naruto's masterpiece. She is wearing a pair of skinny jeans today with a red shirt, the buttons of which can be seen. Good guy. Just watched the beginning. Jiraiya was a little bit overwhelmed. Immediately attracted by the words described by Naruto. This. How can you describe the clothes in such a specific way? Have to say, Jiraiya has never seen such a description. Novel. And it can make people think of the picture. Steady mind Jiraiya continue reading. Accompanied by her swaying figure when walking, it is just cheap and ordinary clothes, but it fully shows her beautiful figure. It was just a short appearance description at the beginning, and Jiraiya went deep into it, and began to associate it involuntarily. As the author, he is very clear that when describing a person, especially a female character, the most important thing is to be able to produce a sense of imagery. At this time, A very clear picture has emerged in his mind. Bai Jia is going to attend a very important 343 meeting today. She carefully selected a blue and white shirt, black smooth socks wrapped her legs. She looked like a professional secretary, with her exquisite makeup. Here, did you change your clothes? Jiraiya swallowed heavily. Good guy, exciting. In the evening, she is about to attend a distinguished dinner party. She is wearing a light pink wrap-around mermaid dress given to her by director Wang, showing her curvy figure vividly Ru. Accompanies director Wang to the beach today. She is wearing a mysterious purple flower dress, and she is covered with a layer of the same purple gauze. Accompanied by superb reading ability, Jiraiya finished reading the story of Volume 1 in no time. His face was flushed, his heart was beating faster, and he had completely fallen into it. This, well written, it's so real, it's so graphic. Although he was reluctant to admit it, Jiraiya still faced his heart and gave a very high evaluation. The three-dimensional image of the character is lifelike, and more importantly, the description of appearance and posture is very moving. Swallowing, Jiraiya quickly scanned the passage she had just read again. He stared at Naruto suspiciously. By the way, Naruto, I found that the character you wrote changes clothes a little too often. Mr. Bai, how many clothes did you change in total? Meet a male lead and change clothes at least once. Naruto simple solution. Why did you write about her changing so many clothes? Doesn't it show that she is diligent? Puff. The corner of Jiraiya's mouth couldn't help twitching wildly. His kissing heaven has barely changed at all. Such a comparison is really a judgment call. The 9 tails in Naruto's belly also stared in bewilderment at this moment. Number 71, it doesn't matter if you roll it. The characters in your novel actually have to roll? With a nervous mood, Jiraiya continued to watch. In the corridor, Bai Jia leaned against the wall, the doors in the attic were opened, and Director Lee walked in quietly. In front of the floor-to-ceiling windows, Bai Jia's back was pressed against the transparent glass. On the balcony, Director Lee is lying leisurely on the recliner. Accompanied by the sound of drizzling, steaming water sprayed in the bathroom. In the kitchen, the aroma is tangy. Director Lee quietly approached from behind. See Volume 2. Jiraiya's face was getting redder and redder, and she couldn't even hold back anymore. The ability to describe this picture is much higher than his Pro X Paradise. I don't know how much higher. Not only is the clothing described vividly, this time, all the locations are displayed. He even wanted to go back directly, and then experience it deeply at home. But looking up and seeing Naruto looking at him, he knew that it was impossible to take away without giving an answer. Puff. Accidentally, Jiraiya squirted out nosebleeds when she saw the exciting part. He was even a little skeptical. If he continues to read, he is afraid that he will die here. Because of excessive blood loss, resisting the urge to open and continue reading, Jiraiya closed the book, took a deep breath and asked, Naruto, this second volume, does it keep changing places? Why are the scenes changed so many times? How many scenes are there? Naruto replied immediately. Meet a leading actor, at least 5 scenes. At least 5? This. Ding. Involution is successful. You have obtained 100 involution points. Ding. Involution is successful. You have obtained 100 involution points. Ding. Involution is successful. You have obtained 100 involution points. Naruto's words gave Jiraiya low self-esteem, but also a greater desire to read. Volume 2 focuses on scenes. What about Volume 3? Could it be that? Hastily took out the toilet paper and stuffed her nostrils, Jiraiya couldn't wait to open the manuscript and continue reading. He wanted to see what to write after this. Bai Jia was invited by Mr. Liu to attend his birthday party. At the party, she wore a red tube-top dress that Mr. Liu specially prepared for her. At the reunion of high school classmates, Bai Jia saw her former crush lover, and snuggled up to him by her drunkenness. A chance encounter, Bai Jia met a college classmate she had never met after graduation. What she didn't expect was that this college classmate had already judged her beauty. Uncle Chin, the gatekeeper, had a kind smile on his face. but he looked at Bai Jia with a malicious look in his eyes, because he saw Bai Jia and Director Wang in the office before. Middle. Jiraiya's hands trembled, because he is deeply aware that the potential of this book has far exceeded his cognition. The first 2 volumes are just descriptions of clothes and scenes. This 3rd volume is directly entangled with various human relationships. It is simply not on the same level as his Pro X Heaven. This book is simply an unprecedented height. Taking a deep breath, with a very unwilling and complicated mood, Jiraiya closed the book. He stared at Naruto and asked seriously, "How many male protagonists are there in this book?" Naruto replied, "A total of 33. Jiraiya opened her mouth wide. This number completely exceeded his expectations. When he thought he was the craziest, he only arranged for 2 male protagonists. Even so, he wrote carefully for fear of being disgusted by readers. Turns out now, after seeing Naruto's work, he reacted immediately. He walked on the way before. Too narrow. Heroine? Could it be rolled like this? Not only can you change more than a dozen sets of clothes at one time, but in 5 different places, there are even so many people who avoid encounters. Roll. Too curly. Ding. Involution is successful. You have obtained 5,000 involution points. Ding. Involution is successful. You have obtained 5,000 involution points. Ding. Involution is successful. You have obtained 5,000 involution points. Call. Jiraiya let out a long breath. Looking at the sky, my heart has been empty for a long time, as if it has been violently impacted. A few minutes later, only then did Jiraiya slowly come back to her senses. He carefully put away the manuscript, as if it was some peerless treasure. After making sure that the manuscript was safe, he breathed a sigh of relief and said with a smile, "I give up, Naruto, your work is really good. If I am lucky enough to comprehend 1 or 2 of the essence, I will definitely be able to create better content." After a moment of emotion, Jiraiya talked about the bet between the 2. "I'm willing to bet and admit defeat. Tell me, what do you want to learn?" The idea of teaching rubbish ninjutsu like 3-body technique has been discarded by Jiraiya. Naruto has already given this peerless classic to himself. How can he be stingy? As for Naruto, he had already chosen his target. Then I'll choose Rasengan. I heard that Rasengan is a super ninjutsu developed by 4th Hokage. I don't know if you know it, pervy sage. Naruto asked this on purpose. As for why Sage Transformation was not selected, it was mainly because it was too early. And Sage Transformation is more like an augmentation state. He plans to learn a powerful attack ability first, then continue to enhance the power through Sage Transformation. And even without Sage Transformation, he has a special talent with unlimited skills. As long as he works hard, the power of his skills can become infinitely stronger. Rasengan, I don't even know how to do this technique. How can I still get along? Jiraiya rubbed her chin. Her expression changed from frivolous to serious. However, let me explain in advance that Rasengan is not something you can learn casually. It's very difficult. If you can't learn it by then, it's your problem, and it has nothing to do with me. Naruto nodded, unafraid of that. With a clone brigade as the base, what ninjutsu can he not learn? To know Naruto in the original book, even a fool can learn Rasengan. He is hundreds of times smarter than Naruto. Is there still a possibility of failure? Just let the horse come here. I, Naruto, will definitely learn it. Jiraiya laughed. That's right, that's the momentum. Then, he looked around, scratched his head and said, "There are too many people here, it's not suitable for cultivation. Follow me to the back mountain first." Soon, the 2 came all the way to the back mountain. After finding an open space, Jiraiya stopped and began to explain Rasengan's learning method. Rasengan is a high-level Muji ninjutsu with a difficulty level of A. Jiraiya stretched out his right hand and spread 5 fingers, and said, "First, you need to make the chakra emerge from your palms, and then, make them spin. However, when rotating, you can't just follow one direction, but rotate up, down, left, and right together. In this way, you can become a Rasengan. Saying that, a light blue chakra ball spinning at high speed appeared in Jiraiya's hand. It is the most basic style of Rasengan. How is it? Does it feel powerful? Jiraiya looked at Naruto proudly. He wanted to see Naruto's surprised look. But in the end, Naruto looked indifferent. No surprise, no surprise, the reaction was extremely flat. This boy, is the riser so picky? Nip the Rasengan, condense the chakra, and again a spinning chakra ball appears in Jiraiya's hand. But it can be clearly felt that the rotation of the sphere is irregular this time, shaking back and forth, as if it could explode at any time. This is the irregular Rasengan, and its power. Jiraiya pressed the irregular Rasengan on the trunk, and the moment it touched the trunk, the Rasengan collapsed, only scratching the bark. After this incomplete Rasengan power dissipates, its power is not even as good as sea-level ninjutsu. However, if the standard of rubbing out Rasengan is a solid spherical shape, then the power will be different. Talking. The perfect version of Rasengan condensed in Jiraiya's hands. See that tree over there? Jiraiya rushed forward and pressed the Rasengan in his hand against the tree trunk. With a bang, a circular opening was blasted out of the tree trunk, fully demonstrating the power of Rasengan. See? This is the power of a perfect Rasengan? Jiraiya looked smug. With such a strong power, he guessed that Naruto must have been dumbfounded. However, at this time, Naruto just stared with a pair of dead fish eyes. Neither humble nor overbearing, there was still no reaction at all. Hey, how are you talking? Jiraiya asks anxiously. Naruto frowns slightly. Jiraiya asks how is he? Does this need to be said? Anyone else would have been stunned by Rasengan's power, but Naruto is the king of roles. In Wan Wang's eyes, how can there be a time of satisfaction? The power of any ninjutsu is not enough in Naruto's eyes. All faster and stronger. So, how to practice this? Hearing Naruto's words, Jiraiya almost vomited blood. Good guy. Such a powerful technique can only be considered so in your eyes? What's the current situation in Konoha village? Has ninja school reformed? It feels like the standards of these little ghosts have been raised a bit. With a curled lip, Jiraiya could only continue explaining. To practice the full Rasengan, you need to control the shape. To control the shape, we need to use some special props. Jiraiya then described how to exercise with balloons and water balloons. After the end, Jiraiya was a little depressed. So no feedback. Naruto is like a wooden man, not surprised by anything. He obviously expected Naruto to show some surprised looks, which would increase his motivation to teach. But Naruto is too calm. Okay, I've told you everything I need to teach you, so you can practice on your own first. I'm a little tired, I'll go back and have a look first. Cough cough, go back and rest for a while. If you have any questions, you can come to me again. After explaining Rasengan, Jiraiya didn't want to stay for a moment. Now he just wants to savor this treasure in his arms carefully again. Better practice it again, Rasengan or something, whatever. Where is reading important? Watching Jiraiya's quick steps, Naruto nodded lightly. He has mastered the principle of Rasengan. Now let's see where the limit of this technique is. Exhaling, Naruto silently condensed chakra in his hands, and at the same time, the 2000 Narutos in the clone team also condensed chakra. Open the book. The breeze is blowing, and Konoha is also a nuclear flat day today. On the street, with a pair of dark circles under her eyes, thin cheeks, and even a little sallow Jiraiya, she walked on the street with frivolous footsteps. Damn it. Naruto, why did you write so vividly? I can't control this hand. Jiraiya felt top-heavy and hollowed out. Since returning with Naruto's book yesterday, he has read it carefully and studied it deeply. The more you study, the more you will be attracted by the stories in the book. Hand also responded honestly. Damn it, I can't go on like this, I can't watch it anymore. Otherwise, the body will be overwhelmed. After some wandering, Jiraiya came to an izakaya. He planned to go in and drink a few sips of wine to anesthetize his head. But what surprised him was that there was an acquaintance here. Master Jiraiya? Kakashi was also surprised to see Jiraiya enter the door. "When did you come back?" Jiraiya waved his hand, then sat down next to Kakashi, and shouted to the boss. "Boss, give me a side." Jiraiya is clearly irregular. The boss also responded with a smile, and quickly brought over Jiraiya's favorite side dishes and his favorite shochu. Jiraiya sighed comfortably after drinking a cup before answering Kakashi's question. "I just came back the day before yesterday, but I stayed at home yesterday." Kakashi smiled. It's rare that the adults didn't go out to collect materials. But it's also true that this new work is so good, it must have taken a long time to collect it. It's normal to want to take a break. There was a subtle smile on Kakashi's face that any man could understand. 780. If it was normal, when Kakashi praised him so much, Jiraiya would have proudly puffed out his chest and boasted a few words. After all, Kakashi has always been a huge fan of his. Those masterpieces can be said to be taken with you wherever you go, and you can read them whenever you have time. But yesterday, I just had a close look at Naruto's work overnight. The more he reads his own works now, the more he dislikes them. So, now hearing what Kakashi said, Jiraiya was not proud, but rather ashamed. "Stop talking, it's still far away." Jiraiya covered her face and said, "I should really take the book I just wrote off the shelves." Now Kakashi wondered, why? It's so well written. And this is the teacher's new series, isn't it? Another new series after Pro X Paradise. I'm really looking forward to the follow-up works. Jiraiya froze for a moment. What new series? How could I, as the author, not know? Is Kakashi wrong? Wait. What new series did you just say? I only released a sequel to the latest Pro X Paradise recently, and no other books? Kakashi was also dumbfounded, but I clearly saw it. Such an excellent book, isn't it written by an adult? Jiraiya's heart skipped a beat, and immediately thought of a possibility. What book are you talking about? What's the name? Kakashi said immediately. Girl in Vain. This book is very popular now, and more than 100 copies were sold in the morning. Puff. Hearing the title of the book, Jiraiya spit out soju on the spot. Girl with a White Knot? Isn't this Naruto's book? He has already published it. Wait. He's published, DBEA. What about my Pro X Heaven? Jiraiya panicked completely. Although he doesn't like Pro X Paradise now, it is also an important source of his manuscript fee. Comparing Naruto's writings with his, it's just like a road. What should he do if he is squeezed out of living space by Naruto's book? Can you only spend the rest of your life on a few 100 million taels of savings? Kakashi, you may not believe me, that book was not written by me, but by Naruto. Jiraiya raised her glass in a panic and took a sip. Kakashi was stunned for a moment, and just stood there dumbfounded. Naruto? My lord, don't lie to me. How old is Naruto? Can he write that kind of book? Kakashi couldn't believe it even if he killed him. That kind of book looks like a book that can only be written by a top veteran driver. But Naruto is not yet 6 years old, not even old enough to be a driver. How could he have written such a good story? Is there any advantage in lying to you? Jiraiya said angrily, then lowered his voice, and told about his bet with Naruto. At this moment, Kakashi felt his cognition collapse. Naruto read Jiraiya's book and thought it was not very good, so he went home and wrote a book by himself? And the plot, the content, the description. Much more than Jiraiya's book. What the hell? Is there such a person? What are you doing with this kind of thing? Kakashi also picked up the wine glass with trembling hands. After drinking 7 or 8 sips, he calmed down. So, according to this, Lord Jiraiya taught Naruto Rasengan? But according to that guy's curling method, I'm afraid I have almost learned it by now, Kakashi said. Impossible. In response, Jiraiya waved her hands confidently. He admits that he is nowhere near Naruto when it comes to writing. But in terms of ninjutsu, he is definitely much more experienced than Naruto. This is a ninjutsu developed by Minato, and you will too, so you know how difficult it is to practice. At the beginning, I practiced for several months before I finally learned it. For Naruto, even if he is Minato's child, it may take a year or two. However, just after Jiraiya had just confidently finished speaking. Snapped. A palm fell on Jiraiya's shoulder. Jiraiya looked back blankly, and saw Naruto appearing in front of him. Puff. Jiraiya, who just drank, spit out another shochu. Naruto, Naruto. When did you come? Although because it is in the village, the state is not the best. But before Naruto approached, Jiraiya didn't even notice. Naruto, can he teleport in an instant? Ah, this. Naruto scratched his head, didn't you come to you when you said you had a problem? Hearing this, Jiraiya immediately relaxed and laughed. Yes, 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 I said, what's the matter? Did you encounter difficulties? But it doesn't matter. Tell me what difficulties you have, and I will explain your thinking to you. Ninjutsu sometimes requires understanding. Jiraiya glanced at Kakashi and took another sip from his glass. Just say it. Rasengan is an advanced ninjutsu, which is difficult for ordinary people to master. After just one day of practice, Naruto encountered a problem. However, in the face of Jiraiya's kindness, Naruto is just Kaido with a calm expression. Ah, that's not necessary. Why? I've learned. Puff. Jiraiya's third sip of wine comes out again. I sat in the store and ordered a glass of wine, and after talking for so long, I didn't drink a sip. You, what are you talking about? Learned? Don't be kidding, you know, I learned this ninjutsu back then. Naruto stretched out his hand without any nonsense. In an instant, a high-speed rotating blue Rasengan appeared in his hand. Zzz, this moment, Jiraiya's expression froze. He opened his eyes wide, as if the eyeballs were about to pop out of their sockets. The mouth looks like it could swallow an ostrich egg. This. Really learned? How did you do that? Naruto. Are you a monster? Kakashi also widened his eyes, as if he had seen a ghost. Although he just said that Naruto may have learned it, it was just talking. No matter how Naruto rolls, it will take at least a few months to learn, right? Turns out boy, one day. How the hell did you learn Rasengan in a day?
What kind of monster is this? Looking at the distorted expressions of the two, Naruto frowned slightly, looked at the Rasengan in his hand and said,
Teacher Jiraiya, actually, although I have learned Rasengan, I still have some problems. What? Jiraiya is still in a dazed state. I feel like Rasengan's power can be increased. Naruto's expression became serious. I observed carefully yesterday. The current highest speed of Rasengan is about 300 revolutions per second. In terms of destructive power, it can only hit a 0.5 centimeters thick iron sheet at most. I have an idea. The key to the power of the Rasengan technique lies in the rotation of the chakra inside. Then if the speed can be increased, can the power of Rasengan be enhanced? Jiraiya still hadn't recovered from the bewilderment, because she was punched hard in the head again. What did you say? Increase the revs? Rasengan still has revs. Jiraiya was completely dumbfounded. When did he study this thing? He even heard the word rev for the first time. Shouldn't the more chakra, the stronger the power? Is it also related to speed? This and that. Jiraiya didn't know how to explain for a moment. After all, Jiraiya failed physics. However, it is also called pervy sage anyway, and he is a teacher. If he said he didn't know at this time, it would be too exhausting. Naruto, I haven't really studied the speed of rotation, but theoretically speaking, it should be the same as what you said. The higher the speed, the stronger the power. What Jiraiya said seemed to be true, so he quickly took a sip of wine to hide his guilty conscience. Naruto, on the other hand, looks like his theory has been confirmed by his mentor. Happily took back the Rasengan. So it's really like this. Then I will increase the speed and continue to practice. Then, Naruto turned around and ran out excitedly. Only two bewildered adults remained in place. Behind the mountain, there is an open space. Naruto condenses Rasengan in his hands. Because there is a relationship of 2,000 times talent. He already mastered the most basic Rasengan through the clone team yesterday. As for the Rasengan RPM issue, that's all he guessed. But since Jiraiya's affirmation, let's practice. Soon, 3 days passed. After the hard training of the clone brigade, Naruto's Rasengan has made new progress. He has been able to rev the Rasengan up to 500 per second. Let me try and see how much the power has been improved. Stretching out his hand, a rapidly spinning Rasengan appeared on Naruto's palm. It can be clearly seen that the speed of rotation is faster than the usual Rasengan. Without the slightest hesitation, facing a big tree with a diameter of more than 1 meter next to it, he pressed down the Rasengan in his hand. Boom! Rasengan pierced through the tree trunk easily, even because Naruto's arm was deeply sunk into plus the tree trunk because of the penetration too easily. Is this too exaggerated? Hiding in the dark, peeking absolutely dark and frightened. Ordinary Rasengan can only open one hole, but in the past 3 days, it has penetrated directly through a tree trunk with a diameter of 1 meter? Speaking of this level, can it catch up with the power of S-rank ninjutsu? White Zetsu sighed silently. Naruto, this brat is really scary. It only took 1 day to increase the power of Rasengan by at least 50%. Almost, this kid should be satisfied with this level of destructive power. Black Zetsu watched Naruto silently, his body gradually sank into the soil. He is about to leave, but at this moment, boom! A dull sound came along the ground. The two were stunned for a moment, then I saw Naruto kneeling on the ground. What happened to him? Could it be that he was injured in counterattack? Never panic. He got a little closer and heard Naruto's voice. Damn it, it has only increased such a little power. It's far from being complete, Changshan is far from enough. Naruto hammered the ground angrily, his face full of depression and disappointment. Hearing this, Ju was dumbfounded on the spot. What do you mean? This has already caught up with the power of S-level ninjutsu, don't you think it's not enough? What exactly are you taking as your imaginary enemy? Absolutely stunned. Originally, he thought that this mission was almost done and could end. But it doesn't seem to be there yet. This Naruto seems to continue to practice. What do we do now? White Zetsu acts a little nervously. Black Zetsu frowned and thought for a few seconds before slowly answering. Keep reading, otherwise the task will not be considered complete. Soon. Another 3 days passed. Zzz, boom. The Rasengan in Naruto's hands was destroyed all the way, directly from the top of a tree to the root of the tree. The speed has also reached an astonishing 1000 revolutions per minute. My good fellow, the ability to continue unabated for 30 meters can already be called a real S-rank ninjutsu. White Zetsu sighed in shock. Even the legendary Reikari of Kakashi. After casting, the power can only last for a moment. Through one goal, there is almost no energy to penetrate the next goal. But Naruto's move is an enhanced version of Rasengan. It can run through a 30-meter high tree. Not only is the power terrifying, but the battery life is also amazing. With this level of destructive power, it should be almost the same? White Zetsu asked cautiously. Black Zetsu nodded. Well, no matter how you say this power is more powerful than Reikari, this kid should be full. Without waiting for Black Zetsu to finish, boom! A dull impact sounded again. Naruto hammered heavily on the tree trunk next to him, with a helpless and uncomfortable expression on his face. Damn! Why is the power still so weak? Obviously I've been practicing for so long. Why is there still not much improvement? Hear this. The two Ju, who were discussing in the dark about going home, turned their heads dully, with expressions as if they had seen a ghost. Depend on. What the hell? Not enough. The power of your Rasengan has obviously been increased several times, what is not improved? This kid, shouldn't he still practice? White Zetsu panicked a bit. They've been monitoring here for 6 days, and Naruto isn't over yet. Is this the rhythm of another cup refill? Hateful. At this time, Black Zetsu wanted to leave, but his mission forced him not to do so. You must know that Naruto is Jinchuriki, and it is also the most important Nine Tails Jinchuriki. Even if they don't meet now, they will definitely meet in the future. So we must figure out the situation of this brat. His potential, his personality, his ideas so convenient to make coping strategies in the future. After thinking for a few seconds, Black Zetsu gritted his teeth, and moved back the body that was about to be removed. I can't help it, I have persisted until here, I can't give up halfway, continue to monitor. Soon, another 3 days passed, boom, accompanied by a huge explosion. A huge rock, pierced directly by the Rasengan in Naruto's hand. Wherever Rasengan passed, gravel flew everywhere, and even stones were rolled into powdery smoke. This power, has completely surpassed S rank. Seeing this scene, White Zetsu's eyes widened in fear. Just crush the rocks into powder? This is probably about to catch up with 3rd Tsuchikage's dust escape? This time should be almost. Sweat dripped from Black Zetsu's forehead. He prayed in his heart, Naruto must stop, that's enough. The power of this technique is enough to make you a master in the ninja world. However, boom, punching heavily on the tree, Naruto's voice was full of anger and sadness. Damn it, it's still not powerful enough. Time bit by bit, fast passed. Half a month has passed since Naruto proposed to speed up the rotation speed of the spiral. On the street, immersed in the world of Baiji, Jiraiya, unable to extricate herself for a long time, finally put down the books in her hands, packed the toilet paper, and went out. Well, I haven't visited it for several days, let's go there. Jiraiya sighed. Go and see how he is, and don't make any trouble. Studying ninjutsu is not an ordinary thing. Accidents may occur if you are not careful. In history, there are even some ninjutsu geniuses who were swept away and died when they were studying some powerful ninjutsu. He hoped that Naruto would be alright, asking for flowers. Not long. Following the perception ability in Sage Mode, Jiraiya came all the way to the back mountain. As soon as he came, he saw Naruto standing there, his head bowed as if he was meditating. Jiraiya looked around and saw a mess. Dozens of fallen trees. Boulders placed in all directions, and gravel and dust. This kid, you practiced very hard afterwards. Jiraiya sighed silently, then walked up. Hey, Naruto, how is your Rasengan training going? Are you having trouble? Jiraiya approached with a smile. To be honest, looking at Naruto's expression, he knew that it might not be going well. Speeding up the speed or something, I have never heard of it. If he had really practiced it, he would have come to him to show off. 80% of them failed. It's been a bit of a rough ride, and it may have failed. Naruto sighed, shaking his head in disappointment. Really, Jiraiya heart Ichiraku. Let's just say, what Rasengan revs, it's useless. Point 0, let me see what it looks like now. I wonder if I can give you some pointers, Jiraiya said carelessly. Naruto nodded, then stood up, still casually condensed chakra on his hands, and rubbed out a Rasengan. Howl. This moment, the surrounding air instantly became anxious. The sharp and ear-piercing sound resounded throughout the forest, making the eardrums tingle and the scalp numb. Countless flying birds passed by, and the animals with sensitive hearing seemed to be frightened, fleeing wildly. The light blue Rasengan, due to its high-speed rotation, even caused movement on the ground within a radius of 5 meters. Focus on Naruto. The smoke, dust, fallen leaves, and dead branches on the surface even began to turn slightly. This. What the F***K? Jiraiya's lips were trembling, and she couldn't even finish her sentence. His outstretched hand trembled, as if he had Parkinson's. This F***king didn't work. This power, this ear-piercing howling, is like adding wind attribute. S-class? Wrong. The power of this technique is definitely above S rank. And far more than that. Boom. Gently press Rasengan on the ground. The scene was like being hit by a bomb, and there was a loud noise in an instant. Zzz, swish swish swish. The boulder on the ground shattered and turned into countless tiny stones that flew out. Not only that, the ground under the rock was twisted away in an instant, blasting out a crater as deep as 3 meters. All objects hit by this Rasengan are reduced to smoke and debris. Even because the speed is too fast, the ground generates high temperature. Even some dead branches and fallen leaves were directly burned. Seer. A long silence, The entire forest is silent, and needles can be heard. This power directly stunned Jiraiya as an audience. Looking at Naruto's expression and what he said just now, Jiraiya really thought he had failed. It turned out to be so strong. This is clearly an SS-ranked ninjutsu, Maru. Naruto. What do you call a failure? Rasengan's power has already become so strong. Why are you still dissatisfied? Not only was Jiraiya roaring crazily, hiding in the dark to monitor, almost reaching the limit, but she was also dumbfounded. Obviously before Rasengan, Mighty could only make a hole in the tree. As a result, after Naruto turned on the involution mode, the power instantly increased several times. The Rasengan in the third round is already comparable to S-level ninjutsu. As a result, Naruto didn't seem to be satisfied, and wanted to increase his power. Just keep upgrading. It's been promoted for more than 10 rounds, it's still not satisfied. This bastard kid, is it true? With his personality, there is simply no way for people to survive. Everyone in Black Zetsu is gone. He has clearly practiced such a terrifying ninjutsu, but his face is still dissatisfied, even somewhat dissatisfied. This Naruto, what is it going to be rolled into? Seeing Jiraiya's terrified look, Naruto shook his head seriously and said, although the speed has reached 50,000, the power has improved somewhat, but it is far from enough. Just imagine, what if the enemy is wearing a steel armor with amazing defensive power? With the current power alone, it can only penetrate an iron plate with a thickness of 10 centimeters. What if the opponent wears a thicker armor? Zilla was also completely dumbfounded, he never expected. It has already reached this point, but Naruto can go one step further. 10 centimeters iron plate is not enough. What the hell? 003. Do you know how thick a 10 centimeters iron plate is? Which ninja door wears more than 10 centimeters of armor? Can it still move? Jiraiya's legs were weak, he looked at Naruto, and suddenly felt a little fear in his heart. Could it be that this is the world of introverts? It's the same with the previous novels, if you don't kill people, you're not reconciled, are you? Then, do you want to continue practicing? Jiraiya asked tremblingly. The two Jew on one side also pricked up their ears nervously. Naruto nodded, and said with a very serious face, well, let's practice. Ding. Involution is successful. You have obtained 1000 involution points. Ding. Involution is successful. You have obtained 1000 involution points. Rain Shinobi Village, organized by Akatsuki. The weather was as usual, cold and wet with a drizzle. On the familiar humanoid statue, a figure is standing motionless at this moment. Let the raindrops fall on the body, shatter and fly. It seems that I can't feel the cold of the rain. The expressionless face looked colder than the rain. Pain. As usual, he is here to monitor the situation in the entire Rain Shinobi village. It is worth mentioning that during the period when Ju went out to investigate, Kakuzu and Scorpion respectively brought back a new player with good potential and decent strength. They are their current partners Hidan and Deidara respectively. Akatsuki's team is also gradually taking shape. But there are still a few people short of the perfect body. Is it Conan? Pain's ear twitched slightly. There was the rustle of paper falling behind him. Without looking back, he knew who it was. What's wrong? Pain asked coldly. Never come back. Conan's familiar cold voice came from behind. Pain nodded slightly. So, what's the situation? However, he did not hear Conan's reply immediately. About 2 seconds passed. He just heard Conan's hesitant and tangled voice. The situation seems a bit complicated. You should go down and see for yourself. Pain turned his head in doubt, and found that Conan was also very confused. Have to say, this aroused Pain's interest. He himself cared a lot about that kid named Uzumaki Naruto. Even Conan was surprised, wondering what kind of information this will bring back. Then go and see what bad news he brings us. Turning around, Pain walked into the darkness. Conan silently followed behind him. Not long. The two came to the base. The members of the Akatsuki organization have all gathered together. Oh, I've heard of you before, you seem to be a traitor from the land of Earth, right? Who is this slick-headed guy? Cthulhists? The people of the Cthulhu still have fighting power. Absolutely is getting to know the two new members. After seeing Pain and Conan walk in, they stopped talking and focused on Pain. Pain stepped forward and said calmly, "It seems that you have already known them." "Absolutely." Zhu nodded, and Didera next to him said angrily, "What? This guy from the pitcher plant is also in the same organization as us? He looks so weak." Scorpion. He is a reconnaissance ninja, and the members of our organization all have their own division of labor. Pain nodded, and took 2 steps forward. Familiarity among the members, there will be plenty of time in the future. Come on, tell me what you found out. What's going on with that kid named Uzumaki Naruto? Hear this. A complex look suddenly appeared on the faces of the two Ju. Black Zetsu's expression was too dark to see clearly. But White Zetsu's look is still very recognizable. It is a kind of entanglement that has a lot to say, but doesn't know how to say it for a while. After a few seconds of silence, Black Zetsu finally spoke. That brat is quite complicated. Overall, he's the most curvaceous person I've ever seen. Roll? Hearing this word, everyone looked at each other with doubts in their eyes. It's not the first time they've heard this assessment of Naruto. Conan also gave a 2-volume evaluation before. But what they said was more absolute, which made them curious. Pain frowned slightly and said, "Tell me in detail." Ju sighed, thinking of Naruto's operations, he was at a loss. He really can't understand many operations of Naruto. However, as the ultimate behind-the-scenes manipulator, he is still very clear about what role Naruto plays on his chessboard. Taking a deep breath, the talkative White Zetsu spoke. When I met Uzumaki Naruto, he happened to meet Jiraiya, one of the Sannin who came back to the village. Black Zetsu's gaze went to Pain and Conan. Neither has changed much. Faced with a former mentor, now he may become an enemy. The mood of the two is so indifferent. Black Zetsu is very satisfied. This is the pawn he carefully selected. In the end, this kid actually said in front of Jiraiya that the adult novel he wrote was not good. Kakuzu snorted and said, "It's really not well written. I didn't feel anything after reading it." Scorpion glanced at him and said, "Can you still feel in this life? Hasn't your body been remodeled by blood vessels?" Kakuzu's gloomy gaze shot over. "Hey, what did you say, kid? The guy who made his own body into a puppet has no right to speak of me." Conan looked at the two of them speechlessly. These two are pretty much the same. They are not normal people anymore. Why are they so noisy? Stop arguing. Pain frowned coldly, then looked at White Zetsu, beckoning him to continue. White Zetsu coughed lightly, then continued. Jiraiya was not angry and asked Naruto what he thought of his novel. Naruto simply said that any novel he wrote is better than Jiraiya's novel. Then he spent one night writing an adult novel, which actually made Jiraiya full of praise and shame, and even now it has become the most popular novel in Konoha village. When I left, it sold more than 10,000 copies. Having said that, White Zetsu stopped decisively. Really? As he expected, everyone present, including Pain, stared wide-eyed, with a ghostly expression on their faces. How can that be? Kakuzu said flatly. How can writing a novel be so simple? Although the novels written by Jiraiya are indeed not very good, creating novels is definitely not a simple matter. Scorpion also said, a novel needs time and experience to accumulate, and it also needs a good writing style. How old is he? It's impossible to write it overnight. Others also expressed disbelief. Although Pain and Conan did not speak, the suspicion in their eyes showed their attitudes. Do not believe. Absolute bullshit. How could someone write a novel by himself because someone else's novel is not good looking? The role is not like this. In the face of everyone's doubts, he will never be annoyed. I said I didn't lie. You can see it when you look at it. As he said that, Ju took out a few books from his arms, and it turned out to be the works written by Naruto overnight. I don't believe in this evil. Hidan grabbed it first with sharp eyesight and flipped it over quickly. He read very quickly, almost 10 lines at a glance. But he quickly exclaimed, F*K, This is a bit explosive. Seeing Hidan's expression, the others started to be shocked. Even Pain and Conan, who were the calmest, changed their faces. Let me see. No, get me a copy too. I want one too. For a moment, the few books Ju brought back were immediately divided. The base was silent. All are perusing the tomes of famous people. She's wearing a pair of skinny jeans today, with a red shirt, and you can see the solid black between the buttons of the shirt. Accompanied by her swaying figure when she walks, it's just cheap and ordinary clothes, but it fully shows her beautiful figure. Director Wang, no, but you will be discovered. Look at this vivid description. A very real picture appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Now they were dumbfounded. It seems that it is really well written. This? Kakuzu's eyes widened slightly. He suddenly felt something strange in his body, a little restless. This feeling, he has not experienced it for several decades. Kakuzu was in shock. Ever since he got the land resentment, he thought he would never feel this way again. Result. Just through a brief description, his body, which has been like dead wood for decades, unexpectedly felt the restlessness of youth again. Kakuzu quickly closed the book, pretending nothing happened. But Hidan next to him is very calm. I rely on it. This kid's writing is really good. The writing is exquisite and the plot is rich. After a little reading, it will make people deeply understand the situation. Scorpion also nodded. Indeed, at his age, it is indeed a miracle that he can write this kind of content. Didera. This was written by AF * King Kid. I can't believe it. I wouldn't believe it if I killed it. This, Conan blushed slightly and closed the book gently. Although the expression was still forced to be calm, the heart in Conan's chest was already beating wildly at this moment, and it couldn't stop. A few minutes later, Pain closed the book silently, with an extremely serious expression, but at the same time, he was a little embarrassed and embarrassing. In this book, it turned out to be such a terrifying content. Was this really written by a child of how old? It's incredible. Stabilizing his mind, Nagato pinched his nails into his flesh and forced Pain to regain his composure. That's all? Absolutely, you have been observing for so long, are these the only results? Of course not. Black Zetsu made a gloomy sound. This is just the beginning. Do you know what he did after that? Black Zetsu's words caught everyone's attention. Hidan quietly hid his hands in his sleeves while the others were not paying attention. What did he do? Pain looked a little nervous. White Zetsu sighed, seemingly still in the pain of watching Naruto. After a few seconds, he said uncomfortably, 20 days, that kid, it took him only 20 days to forcibly roll out a Super S-rank ninjutsu. The voice fell. The entire base hall was first dead silent, and then noisy. Super S-rank ninjutsu? How is it possible? You said he created an S-rank ninjutsu in 20 days? Don't be kidding, it's not funny. No matter how powerful a genius is, it's impossible to do such a thing. Absolutely. Don't you know what Super S-rank ninjutsu means? A group of people are numb. Super S-rank ninjutsu? You know, in the entire Akatsuki organization, there are only a few people who can use Super S-rank ninjutsu. Such as Shenluo Tianjung, 100 Machines Exercise, Colorado Self-Destruction. These techniques can be said to be everyone's strongest under the box tricks. It can easily destroy a village, or even a country. At least they have spent decades of energy to practice, and even used some techniques, and they have to pay the price of their lives. It's such a horrible ninjutsu. As a result, you now say that it took only 20 days for Naruto to come up with a ninjutsu of this level? 31. Don't talk nonsense, okay? It will be scary. Seeing some flustered members, Pain flicked his arm. Okay, stop arguing, let's continue talking. Although the members of the Akatsuki organization are all pretentious guys, Pain is also the leader of the Akatsuki organization. But facing his own leader, he still had to give this little face. So they all stopped, ready to listen to how Naruto rolled out a Super S-rank ninjutsu within 10 days. White Zetsu sighed and said, Rasengan, I think everyone here should be familiar with it. Didera said, I know, That's fourth Hokage's signature skill. Combined with his famous stunt-flying thunder god, it has harvested countless people on the battlefield. White Zetsu nodded and said, "Since you know it, it's easy to say, then you should know, Rasengan is a Muji jutsu with a difficulty level of A. Usually to learn ninjutsu, you must first learn the seals. Every ninjutsu has a different number of seals. Why? Through a certain order, and guide the chakra in the body to form the corresponding ninjutsu. But Rasengan is Muji, which means it's a higher level of difficulty to learn. To learn this ninjutsu, no matter how powerful a genius is, it will take at least a year, or even a few years. And Uzumaki Naruto, under the tutelage of Jiraiya, managed to master the Rasengan in a day, no, overnight." Hearing this, a group of people looked at each other in blank dismay, and the entire base was dead silent. Learned fourth Hokage's signature ninjutsu overnight? What a monster! Seeing everyone's terrified expressions, Ju sighed and continued to add. I originally thought that it would be enough after learning this technique. After all, for a kid at that age, the power of this ninjutsu is seriously excessive. However, who knew that this was the beginning of the nightmare? The kid thought the Rasengan wasn't revving enough, so it was developed and upgraded. The Rasengan we know is about the size of a fist and can penetrate tree trunks, which is already amazing. In close combat, it can exert a strong force. But this little devil just increased the speed, first penetrated the trunk, then penetrated the 20-meter-long tree, then penetrated the stone, and then penetrated the steel plate. Having said that, he couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of saliva. He was still shocked by what he had seen before. In the end, that kid actually wanted to target the tailed beast. Constantly increasing the rotation speed, the Rasengan in Naruto's hands has finally exceeded 5 meters in diameter. Its power can even grind a half-meter thick iron body into a pile of iron filings. After listening to Black Zetsu's description, the audience was completely silent, and a needle could be heard. Everyone's eyes widened. 5 meters Rasengan? Grinding half a meter thick iron body into a pile of iron filings? Are you sure you're not joking? With such an exaggerated penetrating power, can this really be called ninjutsu? Everyone compared their unique moves one after another, and found that they might not be able to achieve this level. Now, their faces darkened immediately. If it really has this kind of power, it will indeed be comparable to Super S-rank ninjutsu. Scorpion murmured. To be honest, all the puppets in his hands could not resist that kind of power. F*K. Iron plates can be ground into slag. Then my body. Hidan was also very shocked. Although he has the protection of the evil god, and he has an immortal body. But if the body is directly ground into slag, can it still not die? For a while, the members of the organization at the scene all looked dignified. Pain also frowned. Originally, he thought that this Naruto only had a little potential and might pose a certain threat to them. But now it seems, this threat is too big. Reminiscent of Naruto's age. Able to develop Super S-rank ninjutsu at this age. It must be a major obstacle to their plans in the future. It seems that this Uzumaki Naruto cannot be left alone. Let's adjourn the meeting first, and discuss about Naruto later. Konoha Village, at noon. Breezy. The bustling Konoha is still buzzing with people. There are people coming and going on the street, and shop assistants are attracting customers at the door. A peaceful scene. At this time, Naruto returned home after training. He's about to draw a lottery. It's been a long time since I've drawn a lottery, and I've collected a lot of introversion points during this time. I hope I can give something good. System, lottery. Naruto rubbed his hands together, giving orders to the system in his head. The roulette wheel of the system suddenly started to spin. 3 seconds later. The pointer stops. Gentle fist. The secret technique of the Hyuga family, which can prevent the enemy from performing ninjutsu by destroying chakra's acupuncture points. Close black lens bracket. Gentle fist. This dog system is really as always, it has never exceeded my expectations. Naruto sighed silently. Forget it, he also admitted. Otherwise, it would be impossible for me to take the initiative to go to Jiraiya to learn ninjutsu. sitting cross-legged on the ground, pinching his chin, lost in thought. Gentle Fist, the housekeeper of Hinata's wife, is good at work and invincible in close quarters. It is better to use with white eyes. Although there is no white eyes, Naruto can make up for the lack of no white eyes by working hard. In other words, that's volume. Rely on the volume, give this technique to the volume meeting, and even roll out a new version. Thinking of volume, Naruto immediately became excited. But I always feel that the speed of improving various abilities has been a bit slow recently. There are also many more items to practice, and the amount of chakra may not be enough. Well, go to Nine Tails. Naruto closed his eyes. Quickly sank into the spiritual space. Now. BA+. Nine Tails lying on the ground sensed Naruto's arrival, and immediately twitched his ears. Then he quickly picked up the book that was thrown aside, and pretended to read it. Yo? Are you here? Nine Tails raised her head silently. Then he pretended to see Naruto. Naruto silently looked at the book that Nine Tails was reading, without reminding the other party that the book was reversed. Instead, he asked silently, "How is your study progress? I've been busy practicing recently, so I don't have time to supervise you. I'm really sorry." Nine Tails snapped the book shut and put it aside casually. The progress of other subjects is not bad, but mathematics. He sighed, his voice full of worry. Naruto smiled and said, "That's the math, tell me, it's stuck there." Nine Tails took the math exercise book and showed Naruto the problem he couldn't solve. "Here, this is the way to prove that two triangles are similar. I've been thinking about it all day, but I can't figure out how to solve 983. Naruto couldn't help but rolled his eyes when he saw it. "So you just wrote a solution?" Nine Tails blushed, but did not refute. Naruto looked carefully and said, "Let me see. Oh, that's it. You have to do this first, then this. These two corners are diagonal, here is the auxiliary line." Naruto is teaching in style. Nine Tails had a bewildered expression on his face. He didn't expect that the problem that had troubled him all day would be solved so easily in Naruto's hands. After solving this question, Naruto was not in a hurry to talk about other questions, but put the exercise book aside. "It seems that your current progress is good, so don't rush to study today." Naruto sat on the ground, pulling the chessboard beside him. "Why don't you play a game of chess and let me see if you have improved recently?" Seeing the expectation, Nine Tails suddenly became interested. Playing chess is good, playing chess is much more interesting than learning. "Just let you take a good look at the tactics that my uncle has recently practiced." As he said that, Nine Tails stretched out his fingernails to move the chess pieces. But Naruto stopped him with his hand. "Wait first. What? It's not interesting to just do it like this. Why don't we raise some bets?" Nine Tails frowned slightly. "Bet? What do you want? If I win, you give me another 1000 chakra." Hearing this, Nine Tails' eyes widened immediately, with a terrified expression. "Good guy. Although I have a lot of chakra, but you can't catch it. There are 2000 servings, do you still think it is not enough?" "Then I won?" Nine Tails immediately raised his bet. "I won, can you still let me out?" Naruto said with a smile. "I can't do this, but I can promise you that if you win, you don't need to write the math exercise book within a month. In addition, I will bring 100 copies of your favorite art book." Hearing that there is no need to write math problems, Nine Tails' eyes light up. "Make a deal." 20 minutes later. Hateful. Nine Tails cursed weakly. Looking at the figure of Naruto going away, I felt a hatred in my heart. Why? Why did I accept his challenge? In these 20 minutes of effort, I lost a large wave of chakra in vain. Nine Tails lay silently on the ground, breathless and weak. If there is a huge mirror in front of Nine Tails at this time, it will find that it is more haggard than before. The ribs are more prominent, and there are more bloodshot eyes, as if the body has been hollowed out. Leaving the mental space, Naruto only felt refreshed. Feeling the chakra in his body silently, Naruto immediately connected his mind to the clone team. Boom. Chakra is divided into 1000 shadow clone again. Everyone is in good spirits and full of energy. Okay, Let's get started. In the distance, on the border of the land of fire, in front of the untouched waterfall. On a vast open space, there are hundreds of huge earthen kilns piled up. If you look closely, there are also sentry posts, water purification areas, breeding areas, planting areas, septic tanks, baths, various infrastructures. And in the largest open space, the dense crowd gathered together to form two phalanxes. If you take a closer look, you will find that these people are all exactly the same. It's Naruto's clone team. At this time, the two avatars with silk ribbons on their heads gathered together, standing on a higher place and condescendingly looking down at the Naruto phalanx below. Captain Number 1 frowned and looked at the phalanx below. Hey, Number 2, do you feel that the rate at which Rasengan's power increases has slowed down a lot lately? Recently, the size and speed of the Rasengan have only increased by a third, which is too slow. Captain Number 2 shook his head helplessly. Maybe you have encountered a bottleneck. You must know that the further you practice, the more difficult it will be to increase your power. The current cultivation speed is already our current limit, and it will get slower and slower. The two sighed at the same time. Ninjutsu promotion, the more difficult it is at the back, this truth, they are naturally clear. It seems that it will take some time to roll Rasengan to tailed beast bomb level. Just when the two of them silently sighed for a long time. Sudden, there were some noisy movements in the grass. Immediately attracted the attention of the two. Captain Number 1 immediately put on a guarded posture. Who is it? Nobody here should know. The same goes for Number 2. Both of them looked at the grass warily. However, before they could see who the person in the grass was, a message from Naruto came to mind. Everyone, for some reason, I have added some compatriots to you now, everyone should get along well. The two froze for a moment, then relaxed their guard. And the people in the grass also came out. It is Naruto's third clone captain. Huh? Are you the captain of the previous team? The new Naruto clone said carelessly. I'm the captain of the third team, and I'm here with a new mission. Number 1 and Number 2 nodded. We know that the main body has already sent the information. I didn't expect it to be Gentle Fist. Without Bai Yan's assistance, I don't know if it will hinder my cultivation. Captain Number 3 looked nonchalant, waved his hands and said with a smile. We have a lot of people and a lot of strength. Even if there are obstacles, we will definitely be able to break through. Then stop talking nonsense and start right away. Hearing this, the two old captains were stunned for a moment. Good guy, this new Number 3 is also a role king. What the hell? Do you want to start training directly after meeting within 20 seconds? This must be too anxious. Wait a minute, sharpening a knife is not a mistake in chopping firewood. Before practicing, let's discuss how to enhance Gentle Fist. Captain Number 1 raised his hand to stop the energetic Number 3. Number 3 was dumbfounded. What? Haven't you practiced the most basic Gentle Fist yet? Have you discussed how to strengthen it? Is it too early? Number 2's eyes dimmed, as if you were cursing me even more. Isn't that normal? It's just an ordinary Gentle Fist. The guy on the main body will definitely not be satisfied. It's better to determine the direction first, and then move in that direction. That way you can avoid detours. Number 3 had a learned expression. As expected of Number 1 and Number 2, they really have rich experience. Number 2 clapped his hands and shouted at the phalanx below. Everyone, stop what you are doing first. You have received the news from the main body, and it is time to practice Gentle Fist. Let's all brainstorm and come up with a direction. The Naruto phalanx stopped immediately, and then, together with the 1,000 people who had just arrived, they all gathered around and began to express their ideas one by one. Increase the speed faster? How about concentrating on one point? Will the destructive power increase even higher? This is not good. It is not as good as Rasengan to focus on one point. With Rasengan, there is no need for Shungchuan to take this route. The characteristic of Gentle Fist is to strike acupuncture points, block other people's chakra, and prevent others from performing ninjutsu. It's more about restriction than power, although the power is not weak. Then what do you say? By the way, What is the meaning of gentle fist? 8 trigrams 64 palms. I remember that 64 palms seem to be a move that only the Zong family can learn. Most people can only learn 32 palms. I hit 64 palms almost instantly, really strong. How can I increase the power of gentle fist? The clones were discussing with each other, but couldn't make up their minds. At this time, an inconspicuous Naruto clone said while pinching his chin. I think, our start from the quantity, gentle fist 8 trigrams 64 palms, 1 palm on each acupuncture point. Then if you hit 2 palms on each chakra acupuncture point, will it become 8 trigrams with 128 palms? As soon as this word came out, the entire training ground was suddenly silent. After a while, the avatar standing next to him complained. Hey guy, do you think this is playing mahjong? Double it casually. That's right. If you hit it once, you get 64 palms, and if you hit it twice, you get 128 palms. What the hell, you're really a switch. Shooting 128 palms in an instant, is that something a human can do? This is too exaggerated. For a while, this unreliable proposal was immediately opposed by most clones. However, Captain Number 1 became pensive, subsequently. His eyes lit up and he said loudly, "Everyone listen to me, although what the brother said just now is a bit unreliable, but what we need is this kind of thinking. It's 64 palms for 1 stroke, and 128 palms for 2 strokes. There's nothing wrong with that. Moreover, we not only want to hit 128 palms, but also go 1 step further. 3 times, that is 192 palms, 4 times 256 palms, 5 times 320 palms, 6 times 384 palms. If you hit 8 times, it is gentle fist 8 trigrams 1024 palms. Have to say, the captain level Naruto avatar has a different idea and is easier to roll up. Such an outrageous idea, I actually agree with him. That's right, just operate like this, we will set the target at 1024 palms. Captain Number 2 also stood up. Maybe this difficulty is amazing, but that's what we want. How can an ordinary gentle fist be enough? Dogs are immune to death. For each acupoint, if you hit it 3 times, it's called a trial. If you hit it 4 times, it's a warm-up. If you hit it 5 times, you're serious, and if you hit it 6 times, it's the real effort. Now another 1,000 partners join us. I believe we can definitely achieve this goal at a faster speed. Everyone tell me, do you have confidence? Next, Naruto, after hearing the encouragement from the captains, his blood boiled with excitement and he was excited. For a while, all kinds of shouts and sounds appeared in this open space. Hit it at least twice, no, take off at least 3 times. Don't set your goals too high today, learn the gentle fist method 8 trigrams 256 palms first. Number 256 is not enough, at least 512, there is great power in numbers. And better booing, in an instant, all the avatars stood in their positions and began to practice. Even without Bai Yan's assistance, relying on the tenacious will, Li Dahao, and the terrifying resilience, the progress of the avatars is also improving rapidly. A good night passed. Before dawn, Naruto opened his eyes. Waking up early has become his habit. Even if the school is closed today, there is no need to go to school. He stretched vigorously, only feeling extremely comfortable all over. Let me see how gentle fist is going. Naruto closed his eyes, accepting the experience information from the clones. The next moment, his expression moved slightly, revealing an expression of disbelief. Because it's only been 1 night, and this group of avatars has actually practiced to Han 128. Is facing the crazy involution of clones. Naruto said, "Nice job though, but could use a little more. Don't be afraid of high goals, just be afraid of not wanting to roll well." The progress was so fast that I was a little caught off guard. What should I do today? By the way, I happened to learn gentle fist. Why don't you go to my Hinata? Naruto hit his palm lightly with a punch, thinking of a good place to go. After all, she is also a future wife, so naturally she needs to get along well. If possible, Hinata's gentle fist is not bad. Make up one's mind. After Naruto simply ate some meatballs to fill his stomach, he left the house. Today's Konoha is still a day of nuclear peace. Walking on the street, I can occasionally see a few children chasing and playing. But there are more of them, Xiao Qiang who is wearing weight training, and Xiao Qiang who throws shuriken wildly, and Xiao Qiang who repeatedly jumps horizontally and practices dodging skills. Seeing the rising sun, Naruto's mood also rose. The pace is also fast. At this time, in the Hyuga mansion, a reprimand is underway. In the wide yard, there are only Hyuga Hiyashi who is full of majesty, and Hinata who is bowing his head and being scolded. Hinata, you really let me down. As a member of the Hyuga clan, don't you know how important Gentle Fist is to us? So instead of practicing Gentle Fist, you practiced Shuriken and Body Flicker technique? Let me tell you, those things are all ninjutsu practiced by trash. Hyuga clan, as long as you learn Gentle Fist, you will be able to face everything. Don't let me see you practicing those useless ninjutsu again. Otherwise, I will not have you as a daughter who tarnished the honor of the Hyuga clan. Hinata looked up in a daze, looking at her father in disbelief. She didn't expect that Hyuga Hiyashi would say such decisive words. She wanted to refute, but she couldn't open her mouth because of her introverted personality. Especially facing her father's stern and disappointed eyes made her even more cowardly. She silently lowered her head and answered in a low voice. Yes, my lord father. Hyuga Hiyashi hates Hinata more and more. Originally, when his wife was not pregnant with her second child, he could bear it. But since he was pregnant with his second child, it became more and more difficult for him to bear Hinata's mediocre 840. Just mediocrity. Our Hyuga family is a famous Konoha family, and Gentle Fist's white eyes are even more intimidating to the world. As a result, you don't practice Gentle Fist, and spend a lot of energy on practicing Shuriken and Body Flicker technique. Isn't this bullshit? Those low-level ninjutsu, who can't? But he still has to fight to the end. In Hyuga Hiyashi's view, this is just Hinata's incompetence, escaping the fate of Hyuga's family. Continue to practice. I'll check your results. If it doesn't meet my requirements, with a heavy snort, Hyuga Hiyashi shook his hands and left. He really doesn't want to see Hinata now. Every time he looked at it, it made him extremely uncomfortable. Look, that's the dignified patriarch's daughter, who can't even practice Gentle Fist well. I heard that she practiced those useless ninjutsu before, completely forgetting the roots of the Hyuga clan. It's unbelievable that this kind of person is actually a member of the clan. It's a disgrace to the Hyuga clan. I didn't expect that a penultimate person with the patriarch's talent would give birth to such a mediocre daughter. It's really disappointing. Damn. Why do I have to risk my life to protect this kind of person? Yeah, it feels really worthless. Both sides of the open-air training ground. A group of people glanced at Hinata, who was alone in the yard, with teasing and even hatred eyes. They are all members of the branch house. Everyone is printed with caged bird when they are born. Therefore, the people in the branch house can only obey the orders of the branch house forever. This feeling of being deprived of freedom naturally made every member of the branch house hate the members of the branch house. For Hinata's situation, they naturally see it in their eyes. Seeing that the people of the clan they had to look up to, and even sacrificed their lives to protect, fell into such a desolate state. While the heart is full of sorrow, there is also a trace of anger. Standing alone in the yard, Hinata's thin body is so helpless. She lowered her head, her white eyes were a little dim. Hinata doesn't know why. Obviously she has tried her best, but she can't get her father's praise. What happened to the body flicker technique? What happened to Shuriken? Those are obviously very powerful techniques. If my father sees Naruto-kun displaying it, he will definitely change his mind. Thinking of the grievances she suffered, Hinata finally couldn't hold back the tears and rolled down her cheeks. Across the chin, dripping on the ground, roll up the dust and reduce a small pit. But it was only a few drops of tears. Hinata stood up firmly, put on the posture of Gentle Fist, and worked hard to practice. At this time, Hinata, I'm here to play with you. Sudden. Whoosh. A gust of wind blew by in an instant. Then, a cheerful voice reached Hinata's ears. Looking back, it was a boy with blonde hair and blue eyes in a black coat. It was Naruto. Naruto-kun? Hinata wiped her eye sockets in panic, wiping away the traces of tears. Hey, Hinata, are you crying? Naruto saw Hinata's aggrieved appearance, and quickly put her in his arms. Who is it? Which bastard is so courageous that he dares to make you cry? Naruto's voice suddenly became serious. At the same time, he was thinking quickly in his heart. There is only one person who dares to make the patriarch's daughter cry in Hyuga's house. Hinata's father, Hyuga Hiyashi. In the original book, Hyuga Hiyashi expressed his preference for Hanabi because of Hanabi's higher gentle fist talent, and then continued to despise Hinata in the cold. Now it seems that only he is the most suspected criminal. Did your father make you cry? Naruto gently wiped the tear stains on Hinata's cheeks, and pressed her small head to his arms. Don't worry, I will definitely give you justice. Abe, will beat him up. 1. Hear this. Hinata panicked all of a sudden. No one, don't go. Although she really wanted to express her grievances. But she knew that this would only hurt Naruto-kun. Although Naruto is very strong, he is stronger than his peers. But anyway, he's just a kid, not even genin. And her father is not only the elite jonin in the village, but also the head of the Hyuga clan. Neither identity nor strength is comparable to Naruto. Naruto rushed over so recklessly, he would definitely be injured. Looking at Hinata's picture of pear blossoms with rain, I saw the pitiful posture, and Naruto felt that this old man must be beaten up today. Taking a deep breath, Naruto yelled towards the yard. Hyuga Hiyashi, come out. Okay. Hearing this sound, Hyuga Hiyashi, who was drinking tea in the garden, frowned. He immediately got up and walked towards the yard. After seeing that it was his daughter with Naruto, and that Naruto was still showing Hinata, Hyuga Hiyashi got angry on the spot. Naruto, what are you doing here? Why are you holding my daughter? And Hinata, didn't I ask you to practice gentle fist? Why are you messing with this kid? Hyuga Hiyashi's expression is distorted. Although he doesn't like Hinata, she is his own daughter and raised by himself. As a result, being hugged in the arms of the wild boy outside, this is the feeling of cabbage being pushed by someone. Father Hinata's face turned pale immediately, and the charm just now completely dissipated. Only panic remained. But soon, a firm hand grasped her trembling palm, calming down her spirit. Don't be afraid, your dad just looks fierce, he has no fighting power. Naruto had a sarcastic look on his face. Hyuga Hiyashi frowned, looking at the clenched hands of Naruto and Hinata, almost vomiting blood. But, at any rate, he was the patriarch of the big family. After getting angry, he recovered his demeanor as soon as possible. He looked up at Naruto's face. Hyuga Hiyashi said flatly. Naruto, it was you who made Hinata almost fail the entrance exam, and you taught some useless ninjutsu at school, wasting Hinata's precious time? Do you know that the rubbish you taught will only take up Hinata's limited time? Now, she can't even perform gentle fist well. It's a shame for my Hyuga clan. You still dare to hug her now? Ahem, you still dare to come to her? It's so presumptuous. Since you're still young, I won't pursue the fact that you are good at the Hyuga tribe. Before I ask someone to drive you out, leave early. Also, never take a step near Hinata again. Hyuga Hiyashi is expressionless, like a statue. But Naruto still stood where he was, with a playful smile on his face. Oh? The head of the Hyuga family doesn't seem to like my ninjutsu. But your gentle fist might not be as good as my ninjutsu. Smelly brat. What nonsense. Gentle fist is not comparable to your three-legged cat ninjutsu. Naruto spread his hands, with a mocking tone. Who knows? Maybe it's just blowing harder. Hyuga Hiyashi is furious. When did the Hyuga clan of Konoha's famous family, it was the turn of a little devil to come to provoke him? If he does nothing, let the child go away from the Hyuga clan. What will the other families in the village think of them, the Hyuga clan? I'm afraid the prestige of the Hyuga clan will drop rapidly. So, no matter what, teach this nasty brat a lesson. Otherwise it will only make others look down on him, the Hyuga clan. Okay, in that case, then I will satisfy you. Let you see the power of the gentle fist of the Hyuga clan. Hyuga Hiyashi walked to the center of the dojo, looking like he was going to teach someone a lesson. Hinata, it's dangerous here, go and look around. Naruto let go of Hinata's hand, letting her look aside. He walked to the center of the dojo himself. The two stood opposite each other. 5 steps away. This distance is not close or far. For masters, it's within seconds, but Hyuga Hiyashi has a huge upside. He is an adult, with long hands, long feet compared to Naruto. It is undoubtedly more advantageous in close combat. Be careful, Naruto-kun. Hinata had a worried look on her face. She clasped her hands tightly to her chest. Tensions began to creep in. The two people standing opposite each other stood in place, like 2 pine trees, motionless. At this time, Naruto blinked slightly. This is the moment. Hyuga Hiyashi moved. In an instant, he crossed the distance of 5 steps and arrived in front of Naruto. Palms whistling and clapping, with palm wind and jets of chakra. This is gentle fist. Jet chakra from the acupuncture points of the palm to destroy other people's acupuncture points and block the flow of other people's chakra. This is the nature of gentle fist. Naruto's expression was calm, his footsteps deviated, and he dodged sideways. Hyuga Hiyashi, however, guessed the precise steps at the same time. Young, crack, crack, crack. A few shots of gentle fist hit Naruto's body in an instant. In the blink of an eye, the two had already completed a duel of several moves. Relying on the advantages of height and arm length, Hyuga Hiyashi pressed on every step. Naruto is losing ground. Mr. Naruto, Hinata exclaimed, covered her cheeks and dared not look. HMPH, is this what he looks like after boasting about Heiko? It really makes people laugh out loud. If you only have this level, just stay at home honestly and don't come out to embarrass yourself. Seeing that he suppressed Naruto, Hyuga Hiyashi became even more merciless. The movements of the hands are also more intensive and forceful. Swish swish swish. Intensive palm techniques shuttled in front of Naruto non-stop. Every time, it almost brushes past the body. Hey, look, the patriarch, he's fighting with someone. Who is it? Looks like Nine Tails Jinchuriki, it's Naruto. What happened? How did these two people start fighting? Come and see. The Hyuga clan outside the dojo swarmed in. All surrounded the two sides of the dojo, watching nervously. Field. I saw onlookers coming in one after another. Hyuga Hiyashi attacks more and more fiercely. What's the matter? Is this all you can do? Didn't you just say that gentle fist is not good? Then why do you keep dodging? With Chakra's fist, crazy wipes on Naruto. In Hyuga Hiyashi's eyes, Naruto is trying his best to avoid his gentle fist at this moment. Scared of being hit? I said, Uncle Hyuga, don't you find it strange? At this time, Naruto, who had been silent all this time, suddenly spoke. What's strange? Hyuga Hiyashi's face darkened. You have already punched more than 50 times. Why didn't you hit a single punch? Like a stone falling into a lake, for a moment. Hyuga Hiyashi's relaxed mood suddenly turned into panic. Just thought for a moment. His complexion changed drastically immediately, and his scalp was numb. Correct. I have punched so many times, why didn't I hit once? Hyuga Hiyashi's heart began to beat wildly. He stared at Naruto in shock. However, it was this inconspicuous glance that made his nervous heart almost stop. Just now, Hyuga Hiyashi always thought that Naruto was afraid of being punched, so he dodged wildly. But now, I found out by carefully looking at Naruto's expression. He is so at ease, look relaxed and calm. It's not trying to dodge with all your strength, but it's like breathing, avoiding those attacks naturally. How is this possible? Hyuga Hiyashi is like seeing a ghost. He found that no matter how much he changed his punching style, he couldn't hit Naruto. It wasn't his fist that grazed Naruto's body. Instead, Naruto purposely let his fist brush past his body. What's the matter, is it just this little strength? Naruto laughed jokingly, and then, his eyes flashed. Clap. Quickly counterattack with 2 palms. With a strong force, Hyuga Hiyashi's palm was spread out in an instant. Hyuga Hiyashi took 3 steps back and immediately pushed to stabilize his body without falling. At this moment, the whole scene was silent. Hinata, as well as those onlookers, all looked unbelievable. What happened just now? The patriarch was beaten back? I'm going. Naruto actually hit the patriarch. No, it must have been an accident just now. How could Naruto hit the Hyuga chief? It must have happened by luck. It wasn't just the onlookers who were shocked. Even Hyuga Hiyashi stared at his hands in fear. How is this possible? That kid actually. He raised his head slightly in horror. Hyuga Hiyashi saw Naruto's face full of sarcasm, and was staring at himself with disdain. Is the gentle fist of Chief Hyuga only this level? What a disappointment, Naruto sneered. Moment. Hyuga Hiyashi's eyes widened, ferocious blood vessels spread all over his cheeks, anger and chakra spurted out. Boy, don't be too arrogant. Hyuga Hiyashi immediately assumes the gentle fist stance. Originally, he did not intend to use this trick. But Naruto really deserves a beating, can't bear it. The surrounding audience also exclaimed, no, that's not it. The patriarch actually wants to use 64 palms. It's too serious. Naruto is a kid. Patriarch, stop. You'll kill Naruto. That's right. It's just a lesson to the children, there's no need to be serious. A group of people frantically discouraged, yet they don't know. The more they dissuade like this, Hyuga Hiyashi can only be more ruthless all of a sudden. Because now he is not fighting Naruto alone. Instead, in front of the entire family, he repaired an outsider. If his performance is too bad, what is the majesty of the patriarch? As the patriarch of the Hyuga family, I will not allow anyone to defile gentle fist. Little devil, I want you to pay the price. Hyuga Hiyashi took a step under his feet. In an instant, the 8 trigrams pattern emerged. This move can be said to be his strongest right now. Only displayed when dealing with important enemies. But today, he made an exception. In order to teach this ignorant brat a lesson, this trick must be used. Naruto-kun, hurry, run away. Hinata on the side shouted out in horror. Zero ask for flowers will be killed. Father's 8 trigrams 64 palm will definitely kill Naruto. However, Naruto at this time, facing the murderous Hyuga Hiyashi, instead of running away, he stood there calmly. Next second, he stretched his arms out in a strange posture. This moment, the entire scene, everyone, was stunned. Hey, this brat, what kind of posture is he? Isn't that our gentle fist pose? What's the situation? Could it be that he also knows the gentle fist method? How can that be? Absolutely impossible. The gentle fist method is a secret art of our Hyuga family, and it will never be passed on. Outsiders can't learn even if they steal it. Is that a bluff? But, it's not right. Look at Naruto's feet, it seems that the chakra mark has begun to appear. The whole scene was shocked. Everyone stared at Naruto with their eyes wide open. And watching Naruto also put on a posture, Hyuga Hiyashi couldn't help but be stunned. There are too many similarities between Naruto's posture and his posture. Zero. This brat, is he trying to fool? Hyuga Hiyashi just thought so. The expression on the face stopped abruptly. Because, at Naruto's feet, he began to appear in the 8 trigrams figure. This is a pattern unique to the gentle fist method. He's not pretending, he really can. You kid, how can you use gentle fist? Hyuga Hiyashi screamed in panic. His face, forehead, and back were covered in cold sweat. Naruto's expression is as immobile as a mountain. Didn't I say, your gentle fist is not very good? I was able to say this, of course, because it's already quite annoying. Crap. Hyuga Hiyashi flew into a rage. Don't think that the gentle fist method you stole from other places can be compared with the orthodox national boxing method. See if I don't break you. The next moment, both sides rushed out. The palms of the two turned into afterimages, intersecting quickly in the air. Oh, boom. The irritable chakra raged wildly in the field, creating a violent hurricane. Flying sand and rocks, leaves rolling. Everyone was shocked by the violent confrontation between the two sides. This. Hinata's eyes widened in fear, she was already dazzled. The speed is too fast. Is this the gentle fist method of my lord father? It's amazing, but... Hinata exhausted all the brain cells and couldn't think clearly. It is such a strong orthodox gentle fist. Naruto actually fought back and forth with her father. How is this possible? Field. Hyuga Hiyashi, who fought with Naruto, has a deeper experience. 8 trigrams 64 palms, Hyuga Hiyashi has already used it countless times. Every movement has been deeply engraved in his body. Even if you don't need to think about it, your body will do it automatically. And the power is naturally unmatched. Especially the gentle fist used by him, the patriarch, has almost reached the perfect state. All the enemies he has encountered so far, in the face of this move, he will only be beaten and retreated. He will fall to the ground. There is no power to parry. However, Naruto at this time not only perfectly resolved his 8 trigrams 64 palm, you can even grab the gap and give him a few more punches. At first I was overwhelmed, but became Hyuga Hiyashi 8.